Chapter 10. Ivy was in shadow, just beyond a corridor doorway. "I was hoping to see you again. I was wishing for it." How could that be? I jumped up and curtsied. She came toward me. "I looked for you at breakfast," she pouted. "But you weren't there." Her voice was stronger today. It had a nasal quality that didn't augur well for singing. "I'd have summoned you, but—" Her cheeks reddened. I wished I could blush so becomingly. "I can't remember your name. Lady Ozza, your Majesty. I'm so glad I found you, Lady Ozza." She smiled her dazzling smile. Footsteps echoed in the corridor she'd come from. I began again. "I'm not—" She darted behind the fountain. I followed. "Lady Ozza," she whispered, looking both frightened and merry. "See who that is. Hurry." I circled the fountain and made out the figure of Sir Ulu in the distance. "It's the choir master, your—" "Oh, no! He mustn't catch me. Do something." I took her hand and ran from the courtyard with her. She ran like a gazelle, and I was hard put to keep up. She tossed her hair and laughed. She turned her head and met my eye. Her eyes said, "Isn't this fun?" I couldn't help laughing, too. We hadn't gone far, however, before her breath gave out. Her pace lagged, and I was pulling her along. I couldn't think what else to do, so I picked her up and carried her. At first she was rigid in my arms. Then she relaxed and smiled up at me. I felt she admired me, and I relished that feeling. We reached the end of the corridor. I turned another and another. I worried we might be going in a circle and would come to the choir master from behind. "This is far enough. You can put me down." I did so, and stood next to her, panting. "Is he coming?" she whispered. "Did he follow us?" I listened, but all I heard was my own labored breathing. "We're safe, your Majesty." Then I blurted out, "Why did we run from him?" She giggled and slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor like a 3-year-old. I couldn't loom over royalty, so I crouched next to her. Someone began singing nearby. "Is that the choir master?" I'd heard his voice at the wedding. "No." "Can I confide in you? Will you keep your queen's secrets?" Yes." I'd never give away a confidence. "As soon as I saw you last night, I knew I could trust you. I thought, here's someone who could be my friend. You have such an honest face." I wondered if she might like me because of my ugliness. That had never happened before. "I'll tell you why we fled. First, you should know that my lord told me I had to have singing lessons, because I've never sung in public before." Her lord? Oh, the king. She wet her lips. "I don't think I need them, but I don't want to argue with my husband." She dimpled adorably. "Not yet." I saw her pleasure in saying husband, and I was sure her voice was dreadful. "The choir master is to be my teacher. I've been avoiding him all day." What would she do tomorrow? What would she do when she had to sing? She couldn't have a sore throat forever. She raised her chin. "My voice is unusual. It's—" She searched for the right word. "Interesting." She nodded, agreeing with herself. "Much more interesting than Orona's voice, which is so admired. One cannot praise Lady Orona's voice highly enough." She was envious. Beautiful as she was, married to the king as she was emerald green with envy. I tried to think of something sympathetic to say. The best I could come up with was, "The choir master is imposing. I'd be afraid to speak to him." "I'm not afraid, and I'll win him over." Her expression turned mischievous. "When I think how. But for now I'm safe." She put her hand lightly on my arm. "You rescued me. You were my salvation." I blushed. Anyone would have helped her. "I'd like you to be my lady-in-waiting." "Pardon me?" "I'd like you to be my lady-in-waiting. I'm sure you would always be kind." My heart was hammering. "Don't you have a lady-in-waiting already?" She grimaced. "Lady Orona. I don't care for her sort of beauty. She's too soft and floppy looking." Anyway, I don't want her. Oscaro picked her, but I think I should choose my own. After all, you'll be my lady-in-waiting, not his." "I can't be." "Why not? Why can't you?" She smiled warmly. "I'm a new queen. You'd be a new lady-in-waiting. We'd be so merry." I gathered my courage. "I'm a commoner, your Majesty, an innkeeper's daughter, not a lady." "Lady Asa. I suspect a title can be found for you. I'll speak to my husband. Now will you be my lady-in-waiting?" I stared at a spot where a green floor tile met a red one just beyond the hem of my gown. If I was her lady-in-waiting, I'd have to live here. At home they loved me. There would be a wage, a generous wage. A wage? I could give only one answer. My generous wage would be a godsend to the feather-bed. Before I could speak, she added, "You have such long, thick hair. I can show you how we wear our hair in Caria." She licked her lips again. "Some of our fashions would look pretty on you." I doubted that, but perhaps the different fashions might help a little. "I'd be honored to be your lady-in-waiting. Thank you, your Majesty." "Good, then it's settled." As her lady-in-waiting, I'd often see Prince Ajori. She rose. I scrambled up. "Lady Asa, at the fountain you made voices come from the statues." She looked uneasy. "You did that, didn't you? It wasn't the statues?" "It was I. I was illusing. I had no reason for concealment. I'd done nothing wrong." She still looked uneasy. "Can all my subjects illuze?" "No, your Majesty. I tried to teach my family, but they couldn't learn. I don't know of anyone else who can do it." "Oh." She flashed her smile. "How talented you are!" Her voice became peremptory. "I wish to go outside. Conduct me outdoors, Lady Asa. I command it." How imperious she could be! I didn't know how to obey. I had no notion where we were or where the castle entrance was. I looked down the corridor, hoping for a ray of sunlight, but in this part of the castle the tallow lamps provided the only light. If we exited through a chamber window, we'd be outside. We weren't on an upper story. We wouldn't have to jump. I bent over and peered through the nearest keyhole, hoping to see an empty chamber, hoping not to see a person in underclothes, or no clothes at all. The room seemed to be an office. There were a desk, a chair, a map on the wall, and no occupant. I opened the door. "Follow me, your Majesty." In the room, I pulled the curtain aside enough to reveal a narrow casement window, which I cranked open. I stuck my head out. The drop was nothing, no more than a foot. I brought my head back in and put a leg through the window. The Queen looked puzzled, but she'd see in a moment. I gathered my skirts and squeezed them and my other leg outside. The window frame was tight, but I needed only to pop myself through and then I'd be out. "As soon as I get through, I'll help you. It will be easier for you. You're slimmer." I pushed against the frame, but I was wedged in. Ivy laughed. She drew the curtains further aside, revealing a glass door. If I'd even turned my head, I'd have seen it. What a fool I was. I struggled to get out, but I only locked myself in tighter. Ivy pushed from my shoulders to no avail. She could hardly speak for laughing. "I'll find someone to help you. I'll be back shortly." She stepped outside. I didn't want her to go. I needed help from someone stronger than she was, but I didn't want to be alone. What help would she bring? A manservant? Or the king? Or Prince Ajori?